Okay, as long as you guys can on your end, you feel good about everything. Okay.
Yep. I mean, most of the time we do, but
Yeah.
lying if he said that we've never faced any technological um uh, issues. But
Yeah.
so welcome to episode 47 of Now Making Moves in Real Estate. Today's guest is Rinda, the dynamic force behind the TC Collective, a consulting and operations firm specializing in creative solutions for real estate businesses. She's also the director of operations for Bison Peak Ventures Fund, which manages a mere $30 million in assets under management. So, pretty impressive. Her background includes building a sales team spanning over 10,000 representatives and over 50,000, including their customers in the MLM space, where she honed leadership and communication skills that now fuel her success in real estate. She's a licensed realtor in Colorado and Texas, a top tier certified TC, and an investor in multifamily properties. We're super excited to dive into her journey and insights. Welcome, Rinda Emick.
Wow.
Wow,
Ladies.
I nailed that one.
Yeah, you did. It makes me sound a lot cooler than I feel like I am. You're like listening, you're like, yeah, I've done that, but you're always like, what's next? What's next, right? And so you have to sometimes reflect those things. But girls, thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate this.
Appreciate you taking the time, especially right before Christmas when there's a lot going on.
I actually just started my Christmas shopping last night at like 10 p.m. So
Those are my worst.
yeah.
That's terrible.
Do you have any home that you're shopping for or
Well, I have 4 kids, so I have 5, but I have, 4, living, and so, 2 are toddlers, 2 are teenagers, so I kinda just it's always a last minute thing for me. Christmas shopping is not we don't celebrate with, like, a bunch of gifts and stuff, we do things a little bit different. Interesting, like, last year, I put, a little bit of money into, like, an apartment for my kids, like, invested into an apartment unit for each kid, right? So things like that where, so we do a little untraditional, and of course, the toddlers, like, we still do toddler gifts. So I make it sound like, there's no thought behind that, but truly, we just do things a little different.
wow. Well, they mom got me an apartment for Christmas.
I'm like, "You own this doorknob," you know? Just a small investment, yeah, but to teach them more so to educate, right? So,
Right.
yes.
So we got in touch with you via Pace Morby, which he is going to be at our event in Cabo.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, he's going to be speaking. So let us know how you are affiliated with him and what you're doing and all the things.
Okay, so, do you guys have you spent a lot of time, like, with Pace? Do you know who he is or much about him?
I
Okay,
know who you know who he is.
nice. Yeah, I think everybody kinda knows who he is at this point, but so, funny enough, I wanted to transition heavily from traditional real estate to investing, like, that was I originally got into real estate back in 2010, and I was young, and, contracts scared the crap out of me, so, only spent a couple years in real estate, got out, built another business, but when I got back, I was like, "I'm coming back. I'm gonna come back to real estate at some point because I wanna invest. I wanna build a portfolio, and I wanna own a lot of real estate." Like, I knew that was always a goal of mine, and so I came back into real estate in 2020, was like, "I'm gonna get licensed again, but really I'm gonna go, more in the traditional side." I mean, sorry, the investor side. And I ended up getting busy in the traditional side and kinda put the investor stuff on the back burner. And so then I was kinda scrolling around and we're like my husband and I are like, "We gotta start the investing, we gotta start doing the things we wanna do." And so we come across, like most people, Pace Morby on, YouTube, and we're watching some videos, and I'm like, "This dude, bro is a scam." Like, he is Like, there is nothing about him that can be real, you know? I'm like, he is just oh my gosh. And so we start, like, diving into all these videos. I'm like, "There is no way you can buy a property with, like, 0 down. Like, there is no way you can do all these things," right? And if you fast forward to now, I've definitely been proven wrong, but, I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna see what this is about." So I kinda started diving into his free Facebook group and, saw some of, like, my mentors in real estate in there, and I'm like, "Okay, wait a second." And then I was like, "Well, I'm gonna join his community." So this is a year and a half ago, at this point, and I joined his sub 2 community, and I was shit you not, like, blown away at the grind of Pace, like, his values, like, his morals, like, how much he gives to the community, and since then, since getting into sub 2, I've just been fortunate enough now where it's like, I do talk a lot with Pace, I do get to go directly to him. I've joined his, smaller mastermind, which is called Owners Club, where we basically own stuff together. And, it's just actually been like a complete game changer for me, honestly. Like, I have learned this is gonna sound crazy, but I have learned more from Pace, who's not an agent, doing creative stuff about real estate than I have learned being licensed in 3 different states with 3 different real estate schools. Like, it's really quite impressive. So yeah, so he's not a scam. He's actually legit. He gives his whole heart into his people, and he's taught me a lot. And I mean, we're on a text, basis. I am very fortunate enough, to have great conversations with his wife, his team, and all the things. And so I am super pumped that you guys get to see him speak in Cabo because you're gonna be very impressed for sure.
Well, we can't wait to hear what you learn and what you're doing.
Well,
Yes.
first of all, wait, how many doors do you have right now? And this has all been in a year and a half period?
So we started buying before before I jumped into Pace's community, but
Oh.
right now we own and what I'm invested in, it's about 187 doors, not including investments into like RV parks. So yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, it's fun. We've got, a few short terms, long terms. Learned a lot. I've worked with I can't even tell you countless at this point, different investors, different businesses and stuff. So it's definitely, I would say, if you look at what I've done in a year and a half, I feel like I have tremendously condensed like what I thought I was going to do in 10 years or 5 years. Like now, what I look at in 5 years, I'm like, I'm going to probably triple like what I thought I would do in 10 years, which is completely mind blowing to me, but so fun.
How are you condensing that so much? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of pieces to that puzzle, but like what's one big thing that you're doing that maybe you weren't doing before?
First, like, I'm sure you girls know, right? Like, it's the people you get around. That's the biggest, uh, way to just leap forward in time, right? Because you take somebody like Pace who has 2,100 doors and has bought them all creatively, so always thinking outside the box. And whereas I used to think I have to buy everything traditionally, I have to save my money, my husband, I have to put 20% down, and do 1, maybe 2 a year type of deal. And so when you get around people that have stretched so much and you're like, your mind is blown, but you see like that is real. Like I can do that. It is real. He started with one, I started with one. And so I think first and foremost, it's like getting around those people. And you know that. Like I'm sure you guys put yourself around people like that too, that push you to think bigger and stuff. But the biggest takeaway for me was that is going, okay, we can actually buy real estate this way. Like we don't have to do it this traditional way. We can actually negotiate whatever works for both people and, even solve problems in different ways than I could as an agent or how I thought traditionally as a traditional agent. And I think that is the biggest really the biggest leap is the people and then also unlocking the power of how do we do this quicker, faster and at a scale. So,
Wow. What is your goal? Do you have a certain goal in mind for number of doors or moving forward?
I do, and I'm like, it just makes me sweat a little bit. And I know it's like and it's not even compared to my mentors, I'm like, it's nothing, but it is to me. So right now I'm on a mission for 777. Like,
What's the number? Yeah, that's very specific. We're gonna have to hear how you got to that number specific.
it's biblical, there's like, I love numbers and playing with numbers and stuff, and I originally was like, "Okay, 750 sounds like a great number," and I was like, "But it doesn't hit." Like, it just
Mm.
doesn't hit, like, to me where I'm like, "Oh," but then I think 777, I'm like, "Dang, if I'm like, I've got 777, like, I hit that number, it's like jackpot," that kind of stuff, but,
Yeah.
and then once I get there, of course, it'll be something crazier and bigger, but so it's just a number that I started with 750, and then I was like, "I gotta adjust it and make it feel a little bit I gotta have a little bit more, um, yeah."
An emotion to that BHAG. That's a goal.
That's
I
the goal
want
in 5 years, yeah, so
Oh,
5 years.
okay.
I won't yeah.
I want to know, you're talking about creative deals. What's the most creative deal you've done?
Yeah.
Woo! Oh my goodness gracious. Well, okay, so, um, oh man, how long do you have? We do so just to give you perspective, my team, the TC Collective, we have a consulting company, and so we do consulting, we do transaction management, but only in the creative space, and, we run anywhere from 25 to 40 deals a month through that company, so we are constant and they're all creative. So we are constantly seeing, all creative, but I will share something that, I'll run through this one pretty quickly. So this is a CHAFA, which is basically a Colorado housing loan that this seller wanted to sell this property. Anyways, had a tenant in the property, decided she wanted to sell to the tenant because the tenant wanted to buy it, but he couldn't get approved. But she's like, I trust him. He's been renting this forever. Okay, great. So what we did is we ended up figuring out a structure for her where she could do um we did like a lease option kind of deal. So we did sorry, not a lease option, a contract for deed. So essentially he's just taking over the mortgage. So we closed this deal with a contract for deed. He's taking over the mortgage. Started off as a tenant. He's not able to get approved, and we had to like jump through several hoops to get this done. But basically, because of the uniqueness of the loan, but he essentially is just taking over the payment and no money down, like zero money down, right? Like doesn't have to get approved by the bank. And it's been a few months since we closed that one, and like the seller, I mean, all she wanted to do was be able to sell to this tenant. Like they had that good of of a relationship. So the reason why that one is super creative is because we couldn't just we couldn't close that one as just a subject to, like, we had to actually create some uniqueness to it based on the attorneys and the title company involved to make it work. So, but we solved the problems. Like, that's the thing, we solved the problems, and this is what the seller wanted, this is what the buyer wanted, and so that was how we could solve the problem. So I actually partnered with an agent on that one, and so we partnered together on how we could structure that for them and, and work it that way. But, I mean, I've had deals where it's like, "Hey, this truck needs to be included in the sale." So how do we, get the truck in the deal? I have an apartment deal right now that I'm working on that is going to be 0 down. We're gonna pay out the payment essentially to help with um, defer so the capital gains and all that stuff, the recapture. So we're gonna help structure this for the seller to where they won't have as big of a liability. And so we will walk in with 0 down, but we will structure like principal payments, scheduled over next year. So it's really like, how can we solve the problem? Like, what's the problem? Oh, the seller doesn't wanna pay taxes. Oh, the seller doesn't wanna, have a massive recapture tax. Oh, the seller wants to sell to their tenant, but the tenant can't get approved. So how do we structure that? And we just think outside the box and make it work. And it's really neat to start to have that, thought process.
Yeah, and your TC company, I'm just wrapping my mind around all this. So it sounds like then these are all since they're all creative, I'm assuming most, if not all, are off market. Is it realtors hiring you to TC or is it actually like sellers or buyers? Or is it
Yeah, so
your own team?
our RTCs will typically be hired by a wholesaler or our buyer. So we have a lot of buyers that are just repeat clients and they only, want us to work on there because they're the uniqueness of the deal. The paperwork looks different. Because I'm an agent, I do work alongside with agents and help them understand and walk them through this is, if you are going to accept this offer, hey, think about this. I've done that kind of consulting fairly often. Or like Colorado agents, like I've JV'd with them on some of the deals, like, hey, this is we're gonna split this commission because I have no idea how to do this. And so I've worked with agents in that capacity. But as far as my team goes, we have a team of 8. And so our TCs are typically hired by the end buyer or the wholesaler who's kind of bringing them in. But we do a lot of on market stuff too. It's just agents are not quite as familiar with the process and the paperwork and all that stuff yet. I think they will be. I think it's definitely getting out there, and I think a lot more agents are starting to go, "Okay, this might be the only option for my seller." Like this if they're in a really bad spot, like this could potentially be the only way to get the property sold before foreclosure or something like that. So, yeah.
Okay, so then how do we get into the RV space?
I know. You just said that, like, "Wait a second."
I know.
So we so my, the TC Collective, we do operational service, like fractional operations, full operations, and then also the consulting piece. So I, primarily do operations, and so I've worked with a ton of different businesses and companies, primarily real estate, or verticals of real estate. So, they've got short-term management, they've got, a massive portfolio, they've got a cleaning company, they've got a, maintenance company, a whatever, and I come in and I just do operations overseeing all of their businesses. And so, I have partnered with this fund, Bison Peak Ventures Fund, and I am their director of operations. So I handle, gosh, all kinds of stuff. As things are starting up, there's a million and a half things that you can do in the operations space. But primarily, I am working through transitions of the park. So once we, uh, decide we're gonna close on a park, I am obviously handling kind of all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff from there, and then I help transition that park into our company with management, operations, that kind of stuff. So that is a lot, but that is, the goal is to do more of that, right? Because in that capacity, I'm building my portfolio. And so that's aligns with my mission to hit 770, right? So I am transitioning to more of that space.
So acquiring RV
Mhm.
parks throughout the country or specific locations? Okay.
All over the place, girl. Like we just closed on one in Virginia. We closed on one in Missouri, the Lake of the Ozarks, and they're beautiful parks. These are RV resorts. So these typically have restaurants, water parks. They're not just pads and electricity. There's several business components to the RV, a resort. And so within the fund, we have investors that invest money into the fund. And then we have targeted returns. And I am more on that acquisition piece. We have capital raisers and that kind of stuff. I'm more on the acquisition piece, the operational side. And so we have, a goal with the fund that we're gonna purchase, 10 parks in 18 months, and we just closed on 2, so we're 2 down. We have 8 more to go, which is a very big goal, but I think with the team and as we grow and add more people, I think it's very, very possible. We're getting systems in place and transitions will be easier and all that fun stuff, so it is a wild space, but it is really, really cool. The numbers are awesome.
What's the minimum investment for that type of fund?
So that one's for accredited investors, and the minimum is 50K.
And then what's the anticipated return?
So we have a 8% pref. So I'm not sure, if you guys, if you have a lot of experience with funds, but we have an 8% pref. And then the targets we're hitting about high teens for overall returns.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
knew?
It's a fascinating, it's a very fascinating space because what I love, and if you can kind of hear as you hear me walking through all the things that I do, you could probably clearly recognize that I love business. And so what I love about the RV space is I get to really take real estate, the components of real estate, like there's long-term, short-term, hospitality pieces, but you walk into an RV resort and it's like you can walk into 10 different businesses. The ice maker making 100 grand a year, the golf cart rentals making 100 grand a year, the convenience store, the liquor store, you've got it's endless opportunities, just depending on how big you want to take it. So, I love that space. I love that we walk in and we go immediately, we are inheriting this many employees. Where are the gaps? How do we fix it? How do we transition it? And it takes a special breed of human, I think, that enjoys that pace, but I definitely do. So it's cool. It's really neat.
Thanks.
Love it.
Yes, and taking place. I'm not familiar with the RV acquisition space, that's for sure. That's different.
Yeah.
How did you get connected with that?
Yeah, so there's a couple, that I became friends with through our community, and we just straight hit it off. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love them." Like, we just vibe so well, and we started working up through, like, how can we work together? And I kinda knew the mission that they were gonna start going down, and they knew the mission that I had been working on, and so we just really aligned in what we were looking to do, and so we finally decided, "Let's come together and work together on this," and so it's been an awesome journey so far.
That's really cool.
Yeah. I definitely have been my interest has been piqued by RV parks. My dad and I have talked about it, but I hadn't looked at it in that large a scales.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like the resort side of it, that more intimidating.
Well, and that's yeah, we always say start with just, a park, just an RV park, start small because you can really get in and I mean, they're all over the place. Like, it's hard when you're not in it, it's like, buying a red car and then you see the red car everywhere, right? It's like when you're not really dived into it and fully invested, but now I'm like, "Oh my gosh, we get probably, I don't even know, 20 deals a week to look at." You know, it just they're everywhere. So would love to help you if you ever like, "Hey, I wanna get into this." Like, definitely text me, call me, or whatever, and we'll all start working through it.
That might be an easier way to go. Here's my 50 grand. Go find get me my little piece.
Well, I mean, that's always one way for sure. Then you see operationally and all that goes into it. But on a small scale, if you and your dad ever wanted to get into it, I mean, you could find a small park, just hop into, 500K, $1 million park, pads, electricity, force park, something that, is just utilized not so much for hospitality, and see if you like it, see if you hate it, you know? But it's a good starting place. So
Well, we'll see. My husband and I are potentially looking at a mobile home park right now. So we
yeah.
that's we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I get a ton of those too. I mean, it's, um, gosh, yeah, the returns. I mean, you can't deny, when you've got good returns. The numbers are the numbers. So that's why I love multifamily, commercial assets, that kind of stuff. I never went down that path as an agent. I stayed more, with single family and land. But as an investor, that's the way to go. That's the route that I'm, like, heavily focused on.
My husband and I just became investors with DLP Capital last month. So, with multifamily housing fund. So, yeah, we're getting ready to get our first check.
Hey, it's yes, that is so exciting. We got everyone starts somewhere, and it really right, Michelle? It's like it just is helping you see that it's real. Because it's like, you hear these things happening, you hear people buying stuff this way, and it's that proof of concept, like, you're getting your first distribution tech, like, now you go, "Okay, it's real. It worked. I can do more, I can do bigger stuff." So, that's awesome.
Well, and surrounded by other great people. So that's, the other part of it that we found attractive was just being around and immersed by even more great people.
Yeah.
Just keeps getting better. So. Mm.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you if they want to learn more or do what you're doing? Yeah, so my name Rinda Emick is on all my social. I am the one and only Rinda Emick. So RindaEmick. You can find me Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all the things. And then you can also look at if you're interested in the RV space, definitely go to our website, bisonpeakventures.com. That will give you all you need to know about the assets we're acquiring, as well as how to invest if that was something that you're interested in, or just who we are as a team and reach out if you ever have questions.
That's great. Well, hopefully we'll meet you at some point, maybe Cabo.
Fun, yeah.
If you can come.
I know. I'm like, maybe I should go to Cabo. I know Treasure's like, you should come to the events. So, yeah, I do hope so too. You guys are great. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And we hope you have a wonderful holiday season. And yeah, we'll catch you on the flip side.
777.
Yeah, we'll get you back on after you reach your goal.
Yeah, I'll reach my goal. I'll text you like, okay, I reached it. You guys, yeah, happy holidays to you guys too. I hope you have an awesome Christmas. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Rito.
Talk to you soon.